Béarnaise sauce, which you might be familiar with because you've had it on a big delicious steak, is notorious for being super finicky to make at home, but it doesn't have to be, and I've got a mad genius tip that will prove it. Béarnaise actually derives from hollandaise sauce, which everyone knows from brunch. But what sets it apart is that it incorporates a vinegar reduction, and that gives it a ton of flavor. So the first thing I need to do is finely chop some shallot. So give it a nice mince. So we're gonna go ahead and put it into a medium or small saucepan. So I'm using a white wine vinegar. I think champagne vinegar would also be really good here. And it's gonna seem like a crazy amount, but you're gonna start with a half a cup because we're gonna reduce it by half. So ultimately we're gonna end up with a quarter cup of our reduction. And I'm going to bring that to a boil. I'm gonna go ahead and get my next ingredient, which is gonna add a ton of flavor, and this is tarragon. In this case, I'm going to ultimately want 2 tablespoons for the whole recipe, but I'm only gonna add half of that to our reduction. Nice, sexy strokes. All right, so we have about 2 tablespoons. Like I said, I'm going to add 1 of those tablespoons right into our vinegar and shallot mixture, which has just started to boil. And we're gonna let that go until it reduces to about a quarter cup. You could see here how beautiful it is. This is almost ready. It takes just about 2 to 3 minutes. I'm actually going to check my quantity by pouring it back into the heat-proof measuring cup. So let's see what we got here. And like I said, we want about a quarter cup, which I think that was perfect actually. All right, before I get going with my egg yolks, I'm first going to warm up the carafe of my blender by just filling it with some really hot tap water. And the reason this is important because when you start to incorporate the butter during the pureeing process, you want to make sure that it's not going to seize up because the blender is too cold. And once it's full, you know it's warm enough, and then you can go ahead and dump it out or water your plants. And then just go ahead and take a clean kitchen towel or some paper towel and just kind of remove any of the excess. Now that we've heated up the carafe of our blender, we are ready to go with the egg yolks. So I'm gonna use 2 egg yolks. These are large eggs, and I'm gonna put the yolks right into my blender. I'm gonna very gradually add this because if I add it too quickly, it's gonna actually scramble the egg yolks. So just start with a couple drops, just like this, to kind of temper the egg yolks. That's what we refer to when we say temper. Once you get a few drops in, then you can go a little bit quicker. You can see that my egg yolks are starting to change color because they're starting to cook a little bit, but they're not scrambling. And now I'm just gonna go ahead and add in all that delicious tarragon and all that delicious shallot and vinegar, which is adding a ton of flavor. All right, now this is the fun part, and this is the crazy part, because like I mentioned, usually when you make either hollandaise or béarnaise sauce at home, you're incorporating a clarified butter or a melted butter. But in this case, I am starting with just room temperature butter. I let it sit out for a few hours, and I'm just gonna use my spoon, and I'm just gonna add 1 to 2 tablespoons at a time. And for this much vinegar and egg yolks, I'm gonna incorporate 12 tablespoons of softened butter. And the sauce is gonna get thick, and it's gonna be super silky and beautiful. And I'm gonna let this puree until it's perfectly smooth. I'm also gonna add a little bit of salt, give it a ton of flavor, a little bit of freshly ground black pepper, and then I'm going to add a squeeze of fresh lemon juice here. Once you get all your butter in, and it's incorporated and smooth, and you know you're good to go, let me grab one of the stars of the show, a beautiful ribeye steak, because that is what we're gonna serve our béarnaise with. So I have a little serving bowl here. Wait till you see the texture of this sauce. And now, just to finish it off, I'm gonna add the rest of that tarragon right to the sauce, and I'm gonna stir it in. This way you get like a really pretty green speckle. The reason this is so mad genius is because butter is already emulsified, and when you melt it, you actually break the emulsion. So in this case, we didn't do that, and so we are already 10 steps ahead. So I'm gonna go ahead and slice this beautiful steak because I can't wait anymore. Take a little bit of your steak here, take a good amount of your béarnaise sauce, spoon it right on top. If you'd like, you can hit it with a little more black pepper. You are ready to go. This béarnaise is luscious, it's creamy, it's a little tangy, but best of all, it's foolproof.